Hello and welcome to Uzreport World News. My name is Barnona Zarzoda. Uzbekistan is one of the most industrialized regions. Navoy is to implement over 500 projects worth some $1.8 billion by the end of this year, according to plans outlined as President Shavkat Mirziyoyev reviewed the projects on February 23.
The annual volume of industrial production in Navoy to date exceeds $6.1 billion. Among the drivers of the regional economy are mining, chemical, construction materials industry, and textile production. Some 200 projects are to be implemented in industry, 179 in the service sector, and 197 in agriculture. The amount of new production capacities is to comprise $1.7 billion. 16,000 new jobs are to be created. The projects are to deliver $123 million worth import, substituting products with their exports comprising $125 million. The region's construction sector is to see new factories specialized in the production of acrylic, stone, basalt panels, wood fiber boards, floor and wall panels, and glass products. Around 20 projects are to be implemented in the chemical industry, 28 enterprises are to be commissioned in the textile industry. Mirziyoyev also touched upon plans to reform the hydropower sector. By the end of this year, the country will implement 16 projects worth $1.4 billion.
Uzbekistan expects a shortage of irrigation water this year, Agriculture Ministry's press service Vice Chief Shuhrat Suyunov said on Monday. A significant decline of water level in most of the Amudarya and Sirdarya basin is expected from April to September, judging from the findings of the analysis of the hydrometeorological situation in the country, the official said.
In the south of Fergana Valley, this figure is 90–100%. In Vaksh, Zarafshan, it is 85–95%, he said. If the level of precipitations remains on the current level, the water supply level will be 25% less in summer in 2021. Few precipitations in February and March will lead to the same water deficit as in 2008, the officials added. According to Suyunov, the water level in water reservoir makes 10 billion cubic meters, which is for 2.3 billion cubic meters less than in 2020. And 1.5 billion cubic meters less than the average annual water volume. Based on the above, this year the government plans to set a limit for the allocation of water for irrigation at 26.9 billion cubic meters.
The World Health Organization on Monday warned that vaccines will be a limited resource until the end of the year and urged high-income countries to step up and donate to COVAX facility. The WHO chief welcomed French President Emmanuel Macron's call on Europe and the United States to allocate up to 5% of their current vaccine supplies to developing countries in an effort to avoid an unprecedented acceleration of global inequality.
More vaccines are being developed, approved, and produced. There will be enough for everyone. But for now, and for the rest of this year, vaccines will be a limited resource. We must use them as strategically as we can.
26 February. Our special guests are Professor Lee.
The G7 countries have shown leadership, but we need all countries to step up. We still face a gap of at least $22.9 billion to fully finance the ACT Accelerator this year. It's important to note, however, that money is not the only challenge we face. If there are no vaccines to buy, money is irrelevant.
The Chinese Uzbek vaccine ZF-UZ-VAC 2001 was found to be 6 times better than American Moderna against British and South Africa's strains, First Deputy Minister of Innovative Development Shahlo Turdukulova has reported.
In cooperation with Chinese experts, Uzbekistan have created one of the most effective and safe vaccines against coronavirus in the world, which received the brand name ZF-UZ-VAC 2001. Now the vaccine is undergoing the stage of pre-registration by WHO. There are practically no side effects from this vaccine. Its immunogenicity was 97%, while the level of antibody production after the second dose increased 11 times.
Tashkent held the 4th Guides Forum to commemorate International Tourist Guide Day on Sunday. The event saw leading scholars and statesmen, tax experts, teachers, as well as representatives of the tourism community and discussed the measures aiming at reducing the negative impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the sector.
According to Aziz Abdulhakim of Uzbekistan's Deputy Prime Minister, efforts have been made to help the guides get employed and conduct qualified country tours. Many of the guides got attracted to teaching in colleges and universities. The forum discussed the grants for tourist guides, allowing industry experts to create new tourist routes and excursions for local and international travelers.
In the past, many tour guides did not have the opportunity to earn seniority and later retire. Today, this problem is solved. They are included in the list of professions, and with a payment of a symbolic sum of about $24, they will be provided with full pension and seniority. This will also help them get social protection.
He added that there is a huge demand in preparing new specialists. According to the latest data, around 3,000 guides are employed in Uzbekistan these days.
Starting from March the 1st, 2021, Uzbekistan Airways will introduce online check-in for the airline's flights. This move is intended to avoid queues at the check-in counters at the airport, and passengers will choose the desired seat at the aircraft cabin. The registration starts 24 hours ahead of the flight and closes in an hour prior to takeoff. Uzbekistan exported $40.8 million worth fruit and vegetables in January, according to latest data provided by the State Statistics Committee. The largest volume of exports in terms of value was delivered to Kazakhstan. Meanwhile, last year, the country produced 20 million tons of fruits and vegetables. To date, Uzbekistan exports 180 types of agricultural products to more than 80 countries of the world. Uzbekistan's Ministry of Internal Affairs is planning to install United Arab Emirates-derived electronic service systems. This decision was reached at the negotiations between the heads of the Interior Ministry of the two countries, Polat Babajonov and Sheikh Al Nahyan. The parties also discussed other promising projects and the expansion of cooperation. The Uzbek delegation also attended the grand opening of the IDEX 2021 exhibition in Abu Dhabi, where the latest achievements in the field of security and defense were demonstrated. The United States is intending to allocate up to $50,000 to strengthen the capacity of civil society in Uzbekistan. Washington offers potential contractors to develop local media, promote human rights, and expand economic opportunities for Uzbek citizens. Moreover, the agenda for tackling the above-mentioned issues have been introduced by the Uzbek President Shavkat Mirziyoyev at the 46th session of the United Nations Human Rights Council.
The wife of El Chapo, Mexico's most notorious cartel leader, was arrested on Monday on drug trafficking charges. Emma Coronel Esporo, a dual U.S.-Mexico citizen, was arrested at Dulles International Airport in Northern Virginia and charged with conspiring to illegally import and distribute heroin, cocaine, marijuana, and methamphetamines in the U.S. She had been under investigation by U.S. authorities for at least 2 years as an accomplice to her husband, sentenced to life in prison plus 30 years in a celebrated trial in 2019, where prosecutors said he amassed power through murders and wars with rival cartels. El Chapo is now being held at ADX Florence in Colorado, the United States' most secure super maximum security prison. Prosecutors say Coronel also conspired to help her husband in his July 2015 escape from the Altiplano prison in Mexico, when he dug a mile-long tunnel from his cell and plotted a second escape following his capture by Mexican authorities in January 2016. A lawyer for Coronel could not immediately be identified. A Mexican official familiar with her case, who asked not to be identified, said her arrest appeared to be a sole U.S. initiative and that Coronel was not wanted in Mexico. She's expected to appear in federal court in Washington on Tuesday.
The vaccines reduce the danger of COVID.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson on Monday unveiled a plan to ease its lockdown and speed up vaccinations, now that a significant portion of the country has been given shots for COVID-19. Over a quarter of its 67 million people have received a first dose, behind only Israel and the United Arab Emirates in vaccinations per capita. Although the numbers are encouraging, Johnson says the UK must proceed cautiously.
Even if we sustain the lockdown indefinitely, which would itself cost lives and do immeasurable harm to our children, we would not be able to eradicate this disease. And that's why it's right gradually to replace the protection afforded by the lockdown with the protection of the vaccines. And our approach is to move with the utmost care and advancing in 4 steps.
Johnson's path for a, quote, one-way road to freedom comes after the UK imposed one of the world's strictest lockdowns in January to combat the spread of a highly contagious variant of the coronavirus.
That was fantastic.
Under his plan, schools will reopen the first week of March, while social gathering and workplace limits will remain until further notice. Non-essential shops and outdoor dining won't reopen until April 12th at the earliest. As reopening phases roll out with at least 5 weeks in between, lawmakers will vote on specific steps. Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland will also ease restrictions over the next few months. While many have already had their first dose, Johnson's new, earlier target aims for a vaccine shot for everyone over 50 by the end of April, and all adults by the end of July. With nearly 130,000 fatalities, Britain has suffered the world's 5th highest official COVID-19 death toll, but it's also overseen the fastest vaccine rollout of any big country, making Britain a test case for governments worldwide, hoping to return to some sense of normal.
Myanmar's military chief has threatened to crack down on any media outlets if they continue to use the word coup to describe the armed forces takeover. That's according to reports by military-run broadcaster Myanmar News on Monday evening, who quoted General Min Aung Hlaing saying that they will take action and withdraw licenses from the media if they use the word coup government. Myanmar's security forces have shown more restraint since the coup compared to previous crackdowns in almost half a century of military rule in the country. Even still, 3 protesters have been killed and nearly 700 people have been arrested. Monday also saw a nationwide protest and general strike where both local shops and international brands like KFC and delivery service Food Panda closed for the day. From the Central Plains in the ancient city of Bagan to the largest city, Yangon, tens of thousands gathered to protest against the coup. Some stomped on posters of an alleged Myanmar army sniper. Others waved posters supporting the civil disobedience movement and raised a 3-finger salute of resistance, a symbol borrowed from the Hunger Games films. Western leaders have stepped up pressure on military leaders, with the US adding 2 more generals to a sanctions list on Monday. The EU also said it was considering targeted sanctions on businesses owned by the military.
HSBC is betting on a new strategy after its earnings took a tumble. Europe's biggest bank said Tuesday that profits fell by just over a third last year. They dropped to $8.78 billion in 2020 as the global health crisis took a toll. That was down from over $13 billion the year before. The lender cited low interest rates and tough market conditions and cut its target for return on equity. HSBC now plans big cuts in back-office functions, such as technology. It didn't put a number on any job cuts, which would come after it shed 11,000 posts last year. Now the bank is betting on rich Asians to turn things around. It's pumping investment into wealth management in Greater China and the wider region. Underperforming units in Europe and North America may be sold off. HSBC confirmed it's in talks over a sale of its French retail banking arm, and it says it's exploring options over its US retail franchise. HSBC shares fell over 1% from the open in London.
Following a tense standoff between Australia and Facebook for more than a week, the Australian government has finally struck a deal after tweaks to a proposed law forcing big tech to pay for media content. Treasurer Josh Frydenberg confirmed the deal on Tuesday after talks with Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg over the weekend.
Well, Facebook has refriended Australia, and Australian news will be restored to the Facebook platform. And Facebook has committed to entering into good faith negotiations with Australian news media businesses.
4 changes will be made, including one which allows 2 months for internet companies to strike private deals for news content before the government-appointed arbitrator intervenes. In response to the changes, Facebook said in a statement, quote, "We are satisfied that the Australian government has agreed to a number of changes that recognise the value our platform provides to publishers relative to the value we receive from them. In return, Facebook will restore Australian news pages after it abruptly blocked publishers and users in Australia from sharing or viewing news content last week." The move was criticised widely, as Facebook also scrubbed pages of state government, emergency information and non-profit charities. World leaders have been watching the negotiations closely, as countries like Canada and Britain consider similar legislation.
The S&P 500 and Nasdaq fell on Monday as higher Treasury yields, plus the prospect of rising inflation, triggered concerns on Wall Street. The Dow, on the other hand, rose, lifted by Disney, which rallied 5%. The S&P and Nasdaq were driven lower by big tech names such as Apple, Amazon, and Microsoft, which all dropped at least 2%. Hillary Kramer of Kramer Capital Research says investors are looking ahead to a return to normal.
The stock market is going through a major rotation today. We're looking at the post-pandemic environment, and that's why we are seeing everything from tire companies that are merging because there's expectation of more people on the road, and we're seeing stocks hitting 52-week highs like Caterpillar. That is telling us that there's an expectation of major projects and that our economy globally is coming back online. And then we're seeing like this kind of deflating low interest in these big FANG stocks that for so long were the drivers of the market. We're in a new era now of investing.
Other stocks on the move included media company Discovery, which jumped 9.5% after it said it was expecting 12 million global paid streaming subscribers by the end of February, while retailer Kohl's gained nearly 8% after the Wall Street Journal reported that a group of activist investors is attempting to take control of the department store chain's board.
And this was our last report. Thank you for watching and goodbye.